Greetings to everyone. Thank you for joining us for this service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Hendersonville. I'm Becky Reed, the Worship Associate for our time together. In the words of Unitarian Universalist minister Meg Barnhouse, "Come, let us worship together, all genders, sexualities, politics, clappers and non-clappers, progressive or conservative. May we root ourselves in the values of this faith, compassion and courage, transcendence, justice, and transformation." We have good news. Beginning June 6th, we will be able to resume our services in person in Fellowship Hall. However, we still offer several activities that you can join us on Zoom. To learn more about what is happening online, please visit us at uufhnc.org. Today's guest speaker is Rabbi Rachael Jackson. She has been the rabbi at Agudas Israel Synagogue since 2015. Prior to rabbinical school, she earned her bachelor's degree in chemistry and worked for nearly a decade as an analytical chemist. Rabbi Jackson was also a 2017-2019 fellow with Sinai and Synapsis. She is especially interested in the field of medical ethics at those liminal moments of life. This fellowship led her and other fellows to create a podcast called Down the Wormhole, which explores the strange and fascinating relationship between science and religion. Currently in its second year, you can find all episodes wherever you find podcasts. Working and volunteering in community is key, and as such, she is president of the Interfaith Assistance Ministries. Rabbi Jackson is married to Daniel, and together they have an empathic and enthusiastic first-grade son, Adrian, who says he will be an author when he grows up. Welcome, Rabbi Jackson.
A prayer as we open today's service. Our God, God of ancestors, we thank you for the numerous blessings you have bestowed upon our nation. Out of the many nations of the world, our country has been blessed with a singular opportunity to demonstrate how peoples of many faiths and heritages can live side by side and enrich one another's lives through friendship and the sharing of our unique traditions. We are united this day in a solemn act of gratitude to those who have served in our nation's defense, to those who have risked their personal safety to save the lives of others, and above all, to those who have died serving this country. Their sacrifices are forever remembered by us and by our children for generations to come. We do not forget. Our hearts go out to those serving today in our armed forces and to their families. Those of us who are veterans of previous wars know best of all what they must be feeling, what their spouses and children are feeling, what they pray for. In all our many faiths, we are united in this. Our prayers are with those who serve our country today. We ask God that they may return speedily and in good health and safety to loved ones. And we pray for those that have given their lives so that we may gather here this day. May God grant each of us the wisdom to uphold this nation's virtues, that it may continue to serve as a beacon of liberty and harmony between peoples for all the world to see. Together, let us say, Amen. Thank you for having me back again. For those of you that I have not yet met, I am Rabbi Rachael Jackson of Agudas Israel Congregation, and I can't wait to be with you in person once more. We will be able to when we feel safe, when we feel ready, and each of us as individuals and each of us as a congregation makes those decisions differently. So for now, we're coming to you in this way, as I have a few other times during this pandemic. Today, I wanted to talk about Memorial Day. You might have seen that from the invocation blessing, and you will see that again in the benediction prayer. And so now let me give you a few of my words as it relates to Memorial Day. I think I've said this before, that I don't really watch too much TV or movies, but I'm not entirely cut off from that world of entertainment either. In fact, just this week, I was rewatching Star Trek The Next Generation. And the episode was centered around the idea that Riker lost his memory due to a virus he had contracted 16 years earlier. Learning about his life in the present, but still acting like himself, was key. It's an effective plot. It's so effective, in fact, that many popular shows have at least one of their characters experience amnesia at some point. One of my favorite movies, 50 First Dates, has the main character suffering from anterograde amnesia, where she has no short-term memory because of a traumatic brain injury from a car crash. It's really a wonderful movie in which, while the TBI does not magically heal, it ends happily ever after. Because memories are more than thoughts of what happened in the past, they are the feelings of what happened. We experience thousands of smells and movements and interactions and thoughts in the course of each day. Our human brains are not equipped to pay attention to, let alone store for recall, all of them, or frankly, even a fraction of them. We each have filters which decide whether something will become a memory or simply fade into an abyss of unimportance. Those moments, which are solidified into memories over a lifetime, help create who each of us is. The relationships we form, which are a crucial part of making memories, refine us. Relationships can be one-on-one, or they can be communal and even societal. Seemingly every generation has a collective experience which manifests itself in the future as the question, where were you when such and such happened? These can be celebratory events, such as the moon landing on July 20th, 1969. Or they can be revolutionary, such as the I Have a Dream speech or the BLM protests of 2020. Or they can be military, such as the bombing of Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, which changed the course of world history. 2,403 people died that day. As a society, we recall that event. We recall the decisions made to enter the global war theater. We recall the shift of employment as people went to enlist and others had to fill the factories. But what of the individuals who died and the friends and the family left grieving? Their memories are radically different. The same can be said for all our wars, from the Revolutionary War to the Civil War, and through 2 world wars through today, with a rough figure of 1.2 million soldiers dying for our country. Each of them, children, parents, siblings, friends, partners, each of them has a story to tell. Lieutenant Sharon Lane grew up in Ohio, got her degree in nursing, and enlisted in the Army Nurse Corps Reserve when she was 25. 1 year later, after having served in various hospitals in America, she was sent overseas. The hours were grueling, but she wrote upbeat letters to her parents with sentences like, "Still very quiet around here. Haven't gotten mortared in a couple weeks now." She frequently signed her letters home with, "See you sooner." Less than 2 weeks later, in June of 1969, she died when a rocket struck the evacuation hospital. Fred Marin was invited to tour his brother's submarine while they were both away overseas. Fred was in the Philippines and declined the invitation. 6 children in the family and only 1 daughter. Roy had been sending his only sister souvenirs from the various ports of call during his duty. In 1945, he wrote to her, "Don't you worry about me. I'm okay and all right. Always think of you. Love, Roy." He was proud of serving his country, having enlisted at age 17 with his father's permission. Later that summer, on August 6th, his submarine was off the coast of Bali, and that was the last transmission received, presumed exploded by an anti-submarine attack. Nicole named her cat Angelica because she loved angels. She also loved to cook and play flute and was engaged. She enlisted in the Army Reserves and at age 19 was sent overseas. Nicole served in the Civil Affairs Battalion and was killed when her convoy was hit by a roadside bomb in southern Iraq in 2004. You see, memory is not just dates and locations of events. It is people and relationships. These tiny snippets of Sharon, Roy, and Nicole show the people behind these numbers. This weekend of Memorial Day is not just about picnics and barbecues. It's reminding ourselves of who sacrificed their lives so that we can sit with our friends munching on chips in a park while the hot dogs are on the grill. In our country of over 330 million people, with around 2 million combined in all the military branches of active and reserve duty, this equals to around 0.5% of the population. So the likelihood that any one individual personally knows a soldier is relatively small. But every individual feels the impact they make. When we commemorate Memorial Day, we are thinking about the people who have given their lives so that we can live ours in relative peace. When he was an ROTC cadet in high school, Kelly Strong wrote a poem called "Freedom Isn't Free." I'd like to read that to you now. I watched the flag pass by one day. It fluttered in the breeze. A young Marine saluted it, and then he stood at ease. I looked at him in his uniform, so young, so tall, so proud. With hair cut square and eyes alert, he'd stand out in any crowd. I thought, how many like him have fallen through the years? How many died on foreign soil? How many mothers' tears? How many pilots' planes shot down? How many died at sea? How many foxholes were soldiers' graves? No, freedom is not free. I heard the sound of taps one night when everything was still. I listened to the bugler play and felt a sudden chill. I wondered just how many times that taps had meant amen when a flag had draped a coffin of a brother or a friend. I thought of all the children, of the mothers and the wives, fathers, sons, and husbands with interrupted lives. I thought about a graveyard at the bottom of the sea, of unmarked graves at Arlington. No, freedom is not free. In this poem, he has captured the essence of what it is to understand what we are commemorating this weekend and every Memorial Day. I'd like to go a step further, though. I'd like to take the idea of memory and move it from a passive noun to an active verb. From memories being those things we conjure up from the past when asked or when triggered, and moving to memories as guides for the present and for the future. In the Jewish tradition, we are encouraged to remember at various moments in our yearly calendar as community, as well as individual time markers. For example, each year we have what is called a Yizkor service, literally a service of remembrance for anyone in our lives who has died. It is a service held with community, not in one's home. This is important to allow us to not feel alone in our grief, as well as to share the stories of the people who have died. We also have targeted services, such as Yom HaShoah, in which we commemorate those who died in the genocide of the Nazis. Those that we recall are often not soldiers, but rather they are civilians. And we end our service with a promise: never again. This service of memory also requires us to think about the present and the future, and to take action that we don't repeat our past. I'd like to think that we could do the same with other services of memory. So here on this Memorial Day, I would like to think about how we can use our memory of those who have given their lives so that we may live ours. It would be rather Pollyanna-ish and with great hubris to suggest we aim for world peace. But I would be remiss if I didn't say it. Beyond that lofty ideal, there are still a great many things we can each do to fully live the lives we've been granted. A simple suggestion is to act with gratitude and to express it. When you see a soldier, say thank you. When you think about all these soldiers giving their lives for our freedom, ask yourself what you can do here at home to give freedom to others. How can you be an ambassador for those who are vulnerable? Each of us has an obligation to communicate with our elected officials and praise them for the good they are doing, and to also critique them for the work left undone. We can use the freedom gifted to us to uplift those in our society who need to experience it too. Our individual differences will lead us to different causes. Perhaps you will lift up those who are not yet free because of intimate terrorism, also known as domestic violence. Perhaps you will lift up those who are not yet free because of the color of their skin or their country of origin. Perhaps you will lift up those who are not yet free because of their gender or who they love or how they express themselves. Perhaps you will uplift those who are not yet free because they are simply different. Whoever and however you choose to lift up those who are not yet free, remember that we can engage. We must engage to do justice and honor to those who have died giving us our freedoms. Let us not take for granted the gifts of freedoms fought for and died for. Let us remember the men and women who fought for and died for our rights. Let us honor the fallen by carrying on the ideals that they fought for and died for. Let us be the poppies grown from their deaths, bringing beauty and life on top of their sacrifices. Let us use our memories to live their lives, to live our lives, fighting for the peace and freedoms for which they died seeking and defending. Let us remember on this Memorial Day and every day let us remember. For our closing today, I wanted to read a prayer which is read for some funerals and also other occasions. And I thought today, this Memorial Day weekend, that we should close with "We remember them," because that is our job. That is our requirement, our obligation, our desire this weekend. But let us not relegate these memories to only this weekend, but through all different times and all different seasons. So let me now share this poem. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and the warmth of the sun, we remember them. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. Let us remember those who gave their lives for our freedoms, and let us always remember them.